Welcome back to the Love You Sew Patterns YouTube channel. We are going over part 2 of the Irene Crossbody, and that will take us through steps 27 to 44. So let's get started. We're going to dive right into the card slot lining. And with the long card slot piece, I like to mark all of my peak markings on the right side of the fabric, and then I'd like to mark all of the valley markings on the wrong side of the fabric. This allows for easy pressing because when you look at just the right side of the fabric, you can easily connect the markings and make a straight line to press. And then you will flip it all over and then do the same to the wrong side. And that creates all of the peaks and valleys needed. Additionally, I do like to also mark the top of this pattern piece so I know exactly which way I'm going. Then you want to fold up all of the card slots and just make sure that it is at 4 inches in total height. With different fabrics, you can lose a little bit of height purely from the fabric thickness. So it's always good to double check, and you can adjust the height of your card slots as needed. Then with all of your peaks, you want to make sure that you top stitch at the top folded edge of every single one. Then it's time to go back and double check that you again didn't lose any height and that you have your 4 inches. Securely clip everything together, and then you can take the card slots to your machine for basting. The only thing that you want to make sure is with all of this thickness with the card slots that you do not accidentally push or nudge your card openings down, because else you will have misaligned openings and they'll be slanted. Once you're ready, grab your card slot sides, which are 4 inches high, and that's exactly why you wanted them to be 4 inches so that they would align exactly. Then attach the card sides carefully, just going slowly over all of that thickness, and you can increase your stitch length as needed. With the card slots, there are a lot of different pieces, a lot of seams, so we want to reduce bulk as much as possible. So grabbing a pair of scissors and also a seam ripper. The seam ripper will take away all of those basting stitches, and then your little scissors will cut into all of those corners. Press open the card sides and then top stitch. Then it's time to get the card top and bottom pieces. Align them to your short edges, attach them with a regular 1/4 inch seam, and then you will open up all of the card slot pieces with the right sides facing up and top stitch along those seams. If you have some fun fabric labels to add to your bag, this is a great spot to add them since there are so many great seams that you can use. Once you are finished, you'll notice that the card slot lining is definitely longer than any of the primary panels. So you want to grab your front panel and align the top and the sides all together and just trim away all of the excess. With all of those seams, it's easy to lose a little bit of length, so I added all of that in just in case. Now it's time to move to the interior slip pocket. You will grab both pieces with view A and put them right sides together. You will sew along that top straight edge, clip the corners, flip the pieces so that the right sides are facing out, and then top stitch again along that top edge. With the remainder of the pocket, you will baste all the way around. Then with the slip pocket, you will grab your last remaining primary lining and then align all of the notches and baste that pocket onto that last primary panel lining. Now we will move on to view B with the mesh interior slip pocket. The mesh is already cut and you want to make sure that the stretch is going to run horizontally. Here I have my fold over elastic. It's a wide one, 3/4 of an inch. And then I'm just using a little bit of Elmer school glue. It's a little dried out, as you could tell. And I'm using that to make sure that the fold over elastic is fully encasing the top of that mesh. Now it's time to sew. With this pattern, I would suggest first to zigzag because that's going to give you the most amount of stretch, but I know that many of us bag makers only have straight stitch machines. So what I'm doing here is I am just pulling out the elastic just a little bit as I go. My stitch is reduced down to about 2.5 millimeters, but giving it that tight stretch as I sew straight will allow a little bit of stretch and you won't break any thread. To give you an idea of the difference, here is a pocket with the zigzag stitch, and you can see that it is pulling a lot further out than the straight stitch version. So they both end up at the same width in total, but you can see how the stretch is lost a little bit. Then you will take the mesh pocket and place it on that last primary panel lining. But instead of basting, you will stitch. And this is because of the width of the mesh hole. So in order to make sure that we can secure it down and that we don't accidentally leave some gaps in the lining, we want to make sure we sew and not baste. We want to take both sides of the back panel together. So you have the lining and then you have the back panel. You want to put them right, or I should say wrong sides together, and then baste all the way around. You just want to make sure to be careful around the pull and of course around the zipper teeth, because that is where you'll get some bulk. Now it's time to move to the zipper gusset at step 36. The wrong side of your gusset is going to have the spine, and then we will have the right side facing up. You will match the short edge of the zipper, also right side facing up, to the bottom edge of the zipper or of the accordion gusset, and then you want to sew them together. With the bulk of the zipper teeth, you are going to want to use a jig, and I also like to sew with the zipper teeth facing down. It just allows for a little bit of a smoother movement and you won't have any skip stitches. Then you want to match each side of the accordion gusset to each side of the zipper, matching the top to each of your markings. It is a little difficult, something you need to finagle with, but once you open up the zipper, it's a little bit easier to move around. Then you want to baste each side of the accordion gusset to the zipper. At this time, you want to make sure that nothing gets shifted around as far as the notches and then the top of the accordion gussets go, just so that when you attach them later on, they are going to be level and not slanted or skewed. Repeat on the other side of your zipper and then set aside as we make the rest of the gusset. Now for view A, we have the top gusset facing up, and we will add the D-ring tabs, making sure that they are centered exactly on both short ends of that top gusset. Then you will add a side gusset matching up those short ends. With view B, you will have your top gusset, but instead of the D-ring tabs, you have your buckle straps. So you have the male end one side, and then you will have the raw edge of your strap on the other side. Make sure that they are centered, and then you will baste them into place. Actually, here I'm sewing them into place just to make sure that they are extra secure. They will be right side up facing you, as a reference. Then you will want to take each side gusset, place right side together, and sew them in place. Because of the bulk of the strap, I'm using a thingamajig hump jumper to get everything through, and I am double stitching just to make sure that everything is going to be secure and that these straps will not be coming out later on with use. You want to open up the side gusset, revealing the strapping, and then top stitch along that seam. That should be about your third or fourth seam along the strapping, which will definitely keep things nice and secure. Continue and add the other side of the gusset onto your full gusset piece. And if you are making view A, this is what it looks like attaching the side gussets to the top gusset. I'm not using a hump jumper right here, but you can see I'm using an awl to help make sure the D-ring tab passes through. Then I'm going back and top stitching along that seam for some extra security. Then you want to break out your lining and repeat all of the same steps, attaching the side gusset to the top gusset. But this time you want to push your seam allowances to the top. Clip away any corners in the seam allowance to help reduce some bulk. Now it's time to attach your zipper to the gusset. With the lining gusset facing up, attach the zipper right side facing up as well, matching all notches. That notch on the side of the zipper should match to the seams connecting the top gusset to the side gusset. Then you want to baste all the way down that zipper. Once you are finished basting, then you will add your main gusset on top, right sides together with the zipper. And you can nest those seams together in order to have the least amount of bulk. And before you start sewing, just make sure that your accordion gusset spine is going to face toward the seam, because it should be facing toward the back of the bag. Now you want to either switch to your zipper foot, or in this case, I am using my narrow zipper or my narrow presser foot. And it allows me to still be able to get a 1/4 inch and not have to deal with the teeth. I have a little bit more stability, and I get more even stitching using this foot instead of my zipper foot. Then you open everything up, press it, and then it is time to top stitch. With view B, the steps are all the same. The zipper has already been basted onto the lining, but with all of the strapping that has already been sewn into the main gusset, you just want to be careful with all of the extra strapping and also the buckle hardware. You just want to make sure that you don't accidentally sew any of the strapping into the seams. So now we will top stitch all along the zipper. It is about 1/16 to a 1/4 inch away. Again, I'm using my narrow presser foot just to make sure that I'm not hitting any hardware. I'm going to zip through and then definitely making sure that the main fabric and the lining of the gusset completely match up so that I can baste those together as shown. Then it's time to add the bottom gusset. You are going to take both bottom gusset pieces, the main and the lining, and sandwich them in together with the rest of the zipper gusset. You just want to make sure that you have the zipper gusset facing the right way, and you just want to also make sure that you are careful over all of that bulk, because with the spine of the accordion gusset and also the zipper teeth, it can get pretty thick, so you can use your hump jumper or awl to help you get through that. And don't forget to trim the corners to reduce all of that bulk. Top stitch once you have pressed along the bottom gusset. And once you have finished top stitching, you just want to make sure the gusset, the bottom gusset main and the bottom gusset lining are all aligned together, wrong sides, and you are going to baste each raw side together. Now this is view B when attaching the main gusset to the zipper. Now I am using a regular presser foot. You can see that I can still use it since there is so much width in the zipper tape. I am just making sure I take my time. I'm trying to not hit any pulls, and I'm definitely not trying to accidentally get any of the strapping accidentally sewn in place. So you just have to move it out of the way as you go, and you will be able to sew that seam without hitting any of the strapping or hardware. And this is now the view of the top stitching. It is pretty tight now, so this is at about 1/16 away from the zipper. So it all just depends on how big of a seam allowance that you have taken in previous sewing of the bag and how much you have left. So I have just about that much in order to top stitch and not hit any of the strapping. That's it for part 2 of the Irene Crossbody sew along. Get ready to finish the bag in part 3.